Hello, hello. I'm out here in the enchantments in Washington, and right now I'm sitting out in front of Kolchak Lake, about 5,600 feet elevation here. But I am currently in a little bit of an awkward seating position here, but currently on a backpacking trip with my family, and just wanted to take this opportunity to get a video with this beautiful view. Um, so yeah, today I wanted to talk a little bit about acceptance because as well, let me see, take these off. Um, as humans in general, we tend to come up against many things in our life that we would rather not experience, or we wanted the outcome to happen in a different way than it did. And we create so much resistance in our mind and emotions in regards to the external experiences that we observe and that we are aware of, that we are experiencing. And the interesting thing is that one specific outcome, you could say, one specific thing that happens could be perceived in many ways. It could be taken in many ways. And a lot of the time we look at things in ways that hurt us or that make us feel bad or that make us unhappy. So I want to talk a little bit about acceptance because acceptance is really such a big factor in being truly happy, enjoying your life, and living the kind of life that you want to, because it's not necessarily how you live that determines the outcome or the quality of your life. It's how you feel that determines the quality of your life, and how you feel is determined by how you perceive the world, not necessarily by the life that you live or by the um, things in life that you experience. So everybody runs into problems and challenges and things that we'd prefer not to experience, right? But it's how are you going to react to that? I have bugs like all over. This is crazy. The mosquitoes are out. Um, but it's how you react. It's how you react. We all have the consciousness, right? We all have the awareness to observe the situations that we're in life. And then it pretty much comes down to our mindset and our triggers, our nervous system triggers that determine how we react to the things that we come up against in our life. Um, so the key is really acceptance. It's acceptance of what is. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to accept a life that is less than what you want. That doesn't mean that you have to accept situations or relationships that are less than what you want, that aren't really fulfilling to your soul. It doesn't mean that. What it means is acceptance of what is. Say you're in a relationship that isn't fulfilling to you. Acceptance that that person is going to consistently continue to be that person, and that it's up to you to make the changes to end that relationship if that's what needs to happen. If it's not fulfilling to you, then chances are that may be what needs to happen. But the idea is not to go and try to change that person. The idea is to accept the reality that is right now. Because when you're not accepting of that reality, you're in resistance. And so let me paint this little picture for you. I'm sure you've experienced something like this. You're in a relationship, it's not fulfilling to you. You want that person to change their ways or make changes in certain ways that make you feel better when you observe and experience them. And so you talk to them about it, you bring it up, you complain about it, whatever, or you get triggered by it and you get angry and some kind of argument or conflict arises. And you guys talk about it, whatever, and then they continue to be who they are. They're showing you the person that they are, that they're going to be every day. And the thing is, you can't go around trying to change people. So they'll continue to show you that. And at that point, it's up to you, you know, because you can look at this experience as being something that helped you clarify. It's really all about shifting your perspective, accepting what is, but shifting your perspective around it to um, a way that you are perceiving it in a powerful or beneficial or positive way. It's positively impacting your life. So the way you could look at this situation is this relationship showed you what you don't want, and it helped you to get more clear on what you do want, because as a result of identifying what you don't want, you automatically know more clearly what it is that you do want, right? It's probably the opposite of that thing that you don't want. And so as a result of that, you can then, instead of focusing on this thing that you've um, been shown you don't want and just complaining about it, um, letting it bring you into whatever emotions it brings to you, sadness, anger, whatever it may be, you accept it, you let that go, and you are living in a state of appreciation instead of resistance, because you are appreciating all of the experiences that you had in that relationship. You're appreciating all of the experiences that showed you more clearly what you do want. And at that point, it's more of a worthiness, because we tend to uh, a lot of people tend to believe that they're unworthy of the things that they actually want, and that causes us to stay in relationships that aren't good for us, thinking that, oh, we probably can't get anything better than that, or justifying these unhealthy relationships. So it really comes back to worthiness, so clarifying what you want and then believing that you're worthy of getting what you want. And by the simple fact that you exist, that you're alive, it's enough proof to show you that you are worthy of what you want. Because I mean, when you really look at life through a different perspective, it's this crazy magical experience. It's not, it is an everyday occurrence when you're alive, but it's really crazy to just try and comprehend how we even exist. Where did we come from? How is any of this real? You know, and really, when you go deeper within yourself, I feel like we have more of those realizations. Like when you're going through like a spiritual awakening, you often face many experiences of existential crisis, of like, whoa, like I'm alive, and it just feels weird. You feel like you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like I exist. This is crazy. And so thinking about it in that perspective, life is this magical thing. And what you have to understand is that what you focus on is the energy that you create in your life. And the energy that you create, the energy that you embody within yourself, is the energy of the outcomes that you're going to create. It's the same thing. So if you're in this unworthiness and you're facing all this resistance in a negative relationship and you keep focusing on that, that's what you're going to continue to get. So you have to make that shift. You have to make that shift into focusing, instead of on what you don't want, you have to focus on what you do want, on the things that you desire, and know that wanting is not necessarily coming from a place of not having. Because think about your car, for example. If I took your car away from you tomorrow, like, would you want it? You would, of course. And so right now, even though you already have it, you can still want it. You still do want it, right? So think about wanting from a place of just wanting, like the wantingness that a children has, or a child has when they want a new toy or something. They want it, but they don't want it from a place of, oh, but I might not be able to get it. They want it, and gladly and they will gladly and openly ask you for it without any resistance, because they believe that they're worthy of getting it. They believe they can have it. So the wantingness is not coming from a place of lack, it's coming from a place of abundance. Wanting things, knowing that the things that you want are abundant in this life, like the emotions that you want to experience every day. Those emotions, they come up from nowhere, from who knows. They just come up, but they're abundant. You can experience an abundance of love, of joy, of happiness, of appreciation. You can also experience an abundance of anxiety, depression, pressure, stress. So it's all about what you decide to focus on, and accepting what is, realizing that you are the creator of your experience of life, realizing that by what you focus on, by what you give your attention to, those are the energies that you're creating within you, and you project your energy out into the world naturally, just by being, just by existing. So what energy are you projecting out there? Because from the law of attraction, fundamental law of the universe, like attracts like. What you give out, what you're going to get. If you're a hateful person and you're constantly giving out hate, nobody's going to like you. It's a fact, a simple fact. Nobody's going to like you. Other people who are also dealing with a lot of internal pain might uh, stick by you because that's what you're attracting by the energy that you're giving off, right? Haters tend to stick together. Successful people tend to stick together. Grateful people tend to stick together. Happy people tend to stick together. I'm a happy person. I don't want to be around people who are not happy. That's not the energy that I want in my life. Like attracts like. So you got to keep that in mind and realize that what you focus on is what you get. And life just is what it is. It just is. So whatever experience is, it just is. And you have to not get so in your head to where you're judging every experience. Like, say your girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with you and you thought that you guys were going to be together forever. If you just accept that experience instead of resisting it and being like, no, they were the one, and trying to prove to them that you guys are meant to be together, clearly you're not because they ended it, right? Um, but instead of getting in that negative state of resistance to that experience, you can look forward to the future. You can trust that that wouldn't happen if there weren't something even more aligned for you out there. Just acceptance of what is. Like, you can look at a negative situation. Like, there was a story. I'm not going to go into the whole story. I don't know the whole story in all its detail, but um, this guy's son, this is just part of the story. You've probably heard it. This guy's son breaks his foot riding a horse or something. He falls off the horse and breaks his foot. And everybody from the town comes and they're like, oh, no, I'm so sorry. That's so bad. And he's like, maybe. It's not like objectively good or bad, right? Maybe. It depends how you perceive it. He says, maybe. And then next week, a war breaks out and they're drafting people to go into the war, right? But his son can't go because he broke his foot the week before. And everybody's like, oh, that's so good. Maybe. Right? You never know. But that experience of him breaking his foot could have potentially saved his life. And if you were one of the people in the beginning who, right when he broke his foot, said, oh, that's so bad, that's so terrible, you're just reacting. You're not accepting what is. Accepting what is with a higher trust in the extreme intelligent powers that created this life and created you and created everything in it that you experience. So trust in that. And when you see life through that magical lens, like of wonder, of curiosity, of amazement, like how is any of this even here? How am I here? You can live in much more appreciation and you will believe in things that may not seem completely logical, like your intuition, like alignment, like, oh, somebody breaks up with you, that's because there's something better coming. It's all about your perspective. So don't get too caught up in what's happening right now. Zoom out, relax. Don't take life too seriously. Trust, trust. Let go of the resistance and live in acceptance of what it is, knowing that you always have the power through the shifting of your perspective. Now keep that in mind and let this lesson come into your everyday experience. Rewatch this, really drill this into your mind and practice it, because I guarantee you when you start to practice it, you will start to see things align where it's like, oh, I made this shift in what I'm focusing on, and all of a sudden this outcome changed. But you got to pay attention, because oftentimes we create our reality, but we don't realize that we did. We think it's something else, right? So maybe you're asking for a new job, you want a new job, and you go out and apply to a bunch of jobs, and you don't really hear anything back. But then a couple weeks later, your cousin reaches out to you and he's like, hey, I got this job. You can look at it as, oh, my cousin helped me with this. Or you can look at it as, oh, I set this intention and then the universe used my cousin as a vehicle to get me this job. Boom. Trust in a higher power, trust in something bigger than you. Because I can tell you there is something much bigger than you, divine intelligence. Because I know you didn't create you, the mind didn't create the mind. consciousness, I believe, did. And it's not fully comprehensible by the ego mind. And that's what I mean. The ego mind didn't create all of this, but that the ego mind is what we use to create all of this resistance to what we see and experience in our life. So don't get so caught up in that. Live in acceptance and be present, be appreciative. Just let go. Like you don't need to control your life. You don't need to force the outcomes. Trust. When you trust, you realize that you're not alone. And that's when you can really let go of like the deep feelings of internal loneliness, is when you realize and you truly trust in something bigger than you. So that's what I got for you today. I hope this message resonated with you. And yeah, let's go. Keep living. Um, appreciate your life. Accept what is. And things will align for you. Things will work out. They always do. Much love.